and moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to Tobago Updates Morning Show. I am your host, Renata Ortiz. It is rainy outside, and we're imploring all citizens to be safe on the roads this morning. I'm in studio with Alex Brown. Good morning, and welcome to you, Alex.
Good morning, Renata. Thank you. Good
I
morning,
missed you yesterday.
Oh my, I was unavoidably absent yesterday.
But it's good to have you in studio with us this morning. Before we head any further into the programming this morning, we head on over to News in 90 Seconds. Your News in 90 Seconds starts now for Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. Hopes for a new Scarborough Secondary School are fading as the project remains trapped in an approval deadlock. Despite Chief Secretary Farley Augustine's January promise of a first quarter start, Education Secretary Orlando Kerr confirms that construction at the Bacalet site is in limbo. Plans are currently with EID for updates, but no commencement date has been set for the Bacalet site. With $400 million on the line, students have returned from the Easter break to the same dilapidated conditions they've endured for years. An autopsy conducted yesterday by Dr. Hubert Daisley has confirmed that 7-year-old Angelica Jogi died from multiple traumatic injuries. The findings bring a somber clarity to the case as the police investigation continues. While the jet ski operator involved in the collision has been detained, he remains uncharged at this hour. The Jogi family continues to seek justice for their daughter's untimely death. Finally, for the first time in Tobago's history, a dedicated Hindu mandir is set to open its doors before the end of the year. Approximately $800,000 has been invested in the facility so far. The temple will provide a permanent space in Signal Hill for the Hindu community to worship and celebrate their heritage, marking a significant step forward for the island's cultural and spiritual diversity. That was your News in 90 Seconds. Tune in again at 6:30 p.m. for our full newscast. Alex, we see the headlines. We still continue to talk about that tragedy at the Pigeon Point Heritage Park.
I suspect we will be talking about it for a while.
The news yesterday when they spoke about the traumatic injuries, and I could only imagine.
It continues to be a really saddening experience. I think the parents to some extent are saying, okay, now we know how, but I don't think it softens the fact any bit that she's gone. And at such a tender age, we really have lost, and we failed not just this child, we failed her family, and we failed ourselves as a people. We really need to do better.
Because I know sometimes we think that getting some sort of information or some sort of why this happened would help to solve the situation, but that really doesn't take away any of the pain that these parents are feeling, the family is feeling, friends, schoolmates of this child is feeling.
It has to be a tough start to the school term for her schoolmates, you know, the teachers.
I have to agree with you. Yeah, it was just coming off of the cusp of the Easter holiday. But viewers, we're heading into the celebratory segment of our morning. We're on to the birthday shout-outs this morning. We have 3 celebrants. First up, we have Rhonda Archie. Happy birthday to you. I know outside is cold, but I'm sure that the persons that you would spend your day with are going to make you feel warm on the inside. I hope you spend this day filled with joy, filled with prosperity going forward in the new year, and that God continues to richly bless you.
Up next in our birthday celebrations is Aniqua Lafele, also known as Kwa. We trust that despite today's rainy conditions, you'll have a warm and bright day, that your time with those you love will be well spent, and that certainly you are going to begin a year that's full of God's favor, God's guidance, and God's using you for His glory. Happy birthday, Kwa.
And last but certainly not least, we have Linda Jo Field. We are seeing her sporting a very vibrant smile in this picture. So we know today is going to be just as bright. Wishing you all the best going forward in your new year. And that today brings that peace and you take the time to reflect and really see out what it is you want to do for the year going forward. And that God continues to bestow all his blessings upon your life. This has brought us to the end of our birthday shout outs this morning. And for those of you who did not make it on the lineup, we want to wish you a happy birthday here from the Tobago Updates family, and ensure that you send all your information to us here at Tobago Updates so that we can celebrate with you. Alex, we're heading into the program. What do we have in store for the viewers this morning?
It's an interesting mix this morning. Probably leave a commentary on that for a little later on. But we continue talking autism. It's Autism Awareness Month. So this morning we're discussing traveling on the spectrum. I have a suspicion that this follows from something that was said last week when we were talking with the representatives from Autism Tobago. We'll see what traveling on the spectrum looks like from their perspective. Following that, we talk with Brendan Brathwaite. We're talking Honeyfest. You need to hear this. You need to see this interview. Viewers, stay with us. And finally, we wrap it up with an art exhibition, an interesting mix of sight and taste and all else that comes with stuff like this. We trust that you are going to stay with us for the duration of the morning.
Viewers, there you have it. Stay tuned if you want to stay and hear about all these interesting conversations that we have in store for you. So viewers joining us on YouTube, Facebook, on AMPLIA, Flow and Digital, we want to say thank you for joining in and making Tobago Updates your #1 station. But before we get anywhere further into the programming this morning, we want to remind you to stay tuned and share the live, share the live, share the live. Up next, we have Ria Paria, Vice Chairman, Autism Tobago, traveling on the spectrum.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Benin. Coming up, Jamaica, here we come. These women of vision are on a mission. Ride the waves and savor the flavor, otherwise known as spending quality time in Antigua and Barbuda. Fun times, plus the food that sets St. Kitts and Nevis apart, all available under one roof. Cue the entertainment and the food. It's Chinese Spring Festival time. It's all next on this station.
Okay. 335, 336, 337, 338, 339,
Counting on your fingers again. No wonder you lose your business.
Grandpa, thanks for helping me start over.
You not lucky in business, you know. As a child, you tried to sell hog plum. That failed. As a teenager, you and your boyfriend tried to break into the jewelry business. But hey, where that boy end up?
He live in Aruka in the Grove. The golden one.
Oh, child, if you want to get into business, you have to have your financial records intact. But hey, do you know your numbers?
Of course, 624 333.
No, child, your numbers, your ratios, your equity ratios. You have a financial handicap.
What?
You need to see somebody about that. Anderson.
Who?
Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago, they offer tax and accounting services. They know about financial management.
Grandpa, I started this business with nothing.
And nothing is what you will end up with unless you call Anderson Services. Here.
Okay, this card is nice.
Yeah.
What's this?
Your rental fee. Have business will pay rent. Hot and groovy in the sugar party.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back. As promised before the break, we're speaking with AMPLIA Vice Chairman of Autism Tobago, traveling on the spectrum in light of Autism Awareness Month. We're going to dive into how it is to deal with all people or individuals in society who are living with autism and how they view traveling while on the spectrum. Good morning and welcome to you, Miss Paria.
Hi, good morning, Vanessa. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning to you and welcome.
So for viewers who may not fully understand, can you explain to us what does that experience look like for individuals with autism and their families?
Well, traveling, whether it's a road trip, on the plane, on the ferry, boat, it is part of life, and we want to be able to prepare our autistic loved ones and even our families who go along on trips. So we have been taking on trips, or family have been going on trips, and it's always a planning process. So what we'll be sharing this evening in the library is just some tips on how you can plan and prepare and put things in place to make sure that the experience is good for everyone. The entire traveling experience can be traumatic, can be tiresome, can be a burden sometimes, going through airports and things like this. So we want to be able to give people some valuable information, because the tips will be very useful. I'm telling you, all speakers are experienced persons, and the tips will be useful and be able to be applied to not just autistic loved ones, but to anybody in the family.
Now, what are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to traveling with someone living on the spectrum?
Well, one of the major challenges in terms of just having that calm, because especially through airports outside the plane, and Aiden's first trip on the plane, it wasn't nice. He was screaming. He didn't like the plane at all. I had to be explaining to the check-in, the customer service persons, we want to be able to board so he could settle. You always have to be advocating and speaking on behalf of your child, because people will be staring and why is this child not behaving in the plane? I said, well, he's just afraid of the takeoff. Once he take off, he'll be fine. And just having the opportunity, I always say these are opportunities for advocacy. These are opportunities for sharing information. So in the early years, I was always be, afraid or nervous as a parent traveling. Sometimes I travel with him when he used to have to go for dental work in Trinidad. I was being nervous having to take him. He's going down to a procedure, must has to be on the plane, so trying to keep him calm and preparing him, going through all the social stories, because they are very routine individuals, autistics. So having to prepare him beforehand and giving him all the stories and the videos and the clips, and it is a project. It is a fruitful one once it's done right.
I think you started to answer what my question would have been, the process for the parent, because we talk a lot about especially the child who's living with
Yes.
autism, but how does this kind of thing impact on the parent? You're preparing the child for a trip that can be traumatic for the child, but how is it for the parent, and what does a parent do, or what do you recommend in terms of the steps that a parent must take in preparing themselves, not necessarily the child, but themselves for dealing with travel?
Um, I will start that answer by sharing a piece of advice I got from my mom. She has a son with Down syndrome. It's a good friend of mine. And I remember her telling me, she said, Ria, every time I have to take, well, I would call his name, to Trinidad for his checkups and so on, I dress up nice. I put myself nice, wear nice shoes, comfortable but pretty because people are going to be staring, so I might as well look cute. So I remember, I always remember that, from her. And I wear comfortable shoes, I make sure I look good, I mentally prepare, make sure I have everything to hand. Nothing far down in my bag I have to be digging for, because in the earlies, Aiden was an eloper, meaning he used to run. So I used to have one hand to hold him and one hand to do everything else. So I would have to make sure I have everything to hand. So it's just a matter of you as the parent having the ultimate plan. You can't leave anything to chance. And there are times when sometimes plans just change. So you have to be prepared to pivot and change and, be flexible and be in a state where you have to be able to be calm. Because we know as mother hens, sometimes they want to jump on people, who may not understand what's happening at the time. But having that calm as a parent, you have to be really mentally prepared and have your documents or tickets or whatever it may be. Again, I'm talking about overseas planes or boat, even on the ferry, to be able to have those things in place.
You mentioned your child being a runner, and it kind of brought to my mind something that, or brought back to my mind something that was said when you were here last week with us. The importance of knowing early how autism impacts your child, because if you're not quite sure, then it's difficult to plan for the eventuality. So it brought back to my mind the importance of understanding how autism affects your child. You've made all these plans and you think you've taken care of what you need to do and you've done your best with your charge, but like you said, plans change. How do you pivot? This child does something that you just didn't, that wasn't in the plan.
Yeah, that wasn't in the plan. Having an intricate knowledge, because sometimes, my son is now 18 and the things, sometimes I still, I pray, no, I still don't understand everything about it, but I have made it a project, basically, to be able to gather information on what works, on what works. And there are times when, I had to take him either on the ferry or just from point A to point B. It's not speaking of it, like point A to point B, and having to pivot or to change your mind. And it's just a matter of, quickly thinking what will be the end result of that change or that pivot, So, excuse me, please. Sorry, I think I'm frozen, but I hope you're hearing me. So just to be able to have that knowledge of your child, to be able to know if you're swinging this way, what would be the next best thing to do to change. Yeah.
Now, there was a statement you made earlier where you said the mother hen tends to come out when there are individuals around that don't understand what is going on with persons on the spectrum. Now, do you believe in it a big space that our transportation systems and public spaces are adequately equipped to support individuals that are on the spectrum, especially when it comes to moving from point A to point B?
This is where the patience part is coming, to be able to be patient and understand. Sometimes people just will not get it at times, and to be able to have that, I'll have it kind of a handbook in your back pocket. That's how I could explain it best. To be able to explain to persons in a way that they'll be able to catch it, to be able to catch what you're trying to explain, what you're trying to take this opportunity to share with others. Because sometimes I get it and sometimes I just don't get it right myself. I don't always claim to be able to get it right. But just using the opportunities, to share and to advocate for your child and to be calm, because sometimes you really want to handle, but just trying to stay calm and to explain, much as if you're traveling with other family members. So assigning them roles to keep you together, to say, okay, well, you will handle this part of the trip, you will handle that part of the trip, just to be able to delegate and to have persons on your team once you're traveling with others.
Now, viewers, we'll take a short break and we'll continue the conversation when we come back with Miss Paria. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Welcome to Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, where innovation meets excellence and the service reigns supreme. Our commitment is simple: to provide high-quality, innovative aluminum, vinyl, and glass solutions for both commercial and residential spaces. At TGSL, we don't just meet needs, we exceed expectations. Our range includes the finest aluminum cladding options, setting new standards in durability and style. Driven by our passion to elevate, we aim to be the leading supplier in the Caribbean market while retaining our identity as a family-owned business. Because at Tobago Glass Supplies Limited, it's not just about products. It's about relationships, it's about you. Innovation, quality, service. That's Tobago Glass Supplies Limited.
I think part of the problem we have, and this is not unique to cardiology, but this concept of checkup is going for review. So for example, women are probably better at, they have the mammogram, they have the pap smear, an older patient may have a schedule with a healthcare clinic. So a lot of people in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s don't think of our healthcare as being part of a proactive thing. So they're waiting for something to happen, then go to the doctor.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. It's who we are and the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. We're deepening our commitment to the region, continuing to invest in the networks, services, and digital solutions that move Caribbean businesses forward. Whether you are a mid-sized business or multinational player, we bring you resilient connectivity, personalized service, and tailored IT solutions, all powered by local teams that truly have your back. We're here to help you navigate challenges, grow, and achieve your goals with practical solutions, reliable networks, and a partnership rooted in trust and your long-term success. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back. We continue our discussion on autism awareness, traveling on the spectrum. We're continuing to talk with Miss Ria Paria, Vice Chairman of Autism Tobago. Before we went to break, you were talking about traveling with other family members, including an autistic child, and the various roles that are applied or assigned to family members. Tell us some about that, because sometimes our culture tends to leave the care of anybody who needs additional care to a single family member. Tell us some more about how a family plays a role in assisting with traveling with autistic children.
Yes, teamwork makes the dream work. So it is okay. You need a buddy system, because things can go quickly awry in a large airport, in an international airport, in a mall. You know, a trip to the mall. I remember one time we lost Aiden in the mall. He just disappeared, you know, and we thought we had all eyes and all hands on deck. So you really do need the team to be looking, because sometimes it can be too much for one person. So if it is, okay, you all decided, okay, well, during checking, or who is holding whose hand, who is doing by the counter, you have to delegate the roles, and everybody must be in support of what is happening at that time, because it is for the benefit of all. You know, times we go into an international airport, and this is something I plug here for maybe, I don't know if our new airport has it here in Tobago, a family bathroom. A simple thing as if they want to use the bathroom, you know, to be able to, who has to go with them there, who has to go with them there. But if I have a family bathroom, everyone goes into the one bathroom together, you know. So it is important that each family member understand, okay, I am the buddy at this time. You know, if you see mommy getting off on the customer service representative, I will have to be the one to do the calming down. You know, but this all happens. Sometimes people think they could wing things. There are things they could wing, but even long term fun has to be properly planned. But it must be planned.
Now, seeing that we're in Autism Awareness Month, and we have to make this something across the board awareness on, in terms of the citizenry, everyone being aware of how we can better aid and really include persons who are traveling on the spectrum. What are some of the simple things the public can do if they encounter a child or an adult while traveling who may be overwhelmed?
Well, sometimes if you don't know what the trigger is, they mightn't be able to add anything or to say anything or to do anything. They don't understand the child, right? But just having a heart of compassion, you know, to be able to ask if they can offer help, because sometimes they don't want to be touched. You know, it's like, is there anything I can do? Because if you're traveling with you and the individual, is there anything I can do? You can ask, you know, and to not just to say, well, you know, jump to conclusions, you know, having that thought that this child is just misbehaving, or this adult is just confused and holding up the line. So just having that first understanding, awareness starts the whole road into acceptance and inclusion. So sometimes we're just being aware, like, you know, something might be challenging. It may not even be a special needs child. You see a mother struggling with something, like, how can I help? Now, these days, sometimes people are where we don't assist people, you know, everybody thinking twice before they lend a hand, you know, so it's just the nature of things now, but kindness and compassion would never go out of style. So sometimes if you just ask, how may I help? You may be able to help.
There's part of a culture here that kind of puts us in a place where we try to hide or suppress the fact or conceal the fact that we're dealing with challenges. So we have an autistic charge, and we don't want anybody to know. We pretend everything is all right. So somebody may even willingly offer some assistance. No, I have it, I good. How do we treat with the fact that not everybody wants to harm, and it's not something that you should be ashamed about, because it's not something that you chose for the child. It's not something the child chose for him or herself, but that it's a challenge that we now have to navigate, and that we should, you know, just try and be open and accepting of, because I suspect that if as a parent I'm not accepting of that reality, it becomes difficult for anybody else. But how do we deal with that side of the culture where parents may be reluctant? You know, you spoke about people being reluctant to offer help, which is a real situation that we face. But what about the situation where a parent is reluctant to accept help, probably fearing that because the public doesn't understand us? How do you treat with that seeming disparity in how the approach is given?
And but that begins with the individual. If the parent themselves are not, well, I'm using this term loosely, at peace, you know, are accepting of their own situation. It's like an alcoholic have to first admit that they're alcoholic to receive help. You know, so sometimes the parents themselves may not see it as something that they can get good out of, or something that they can learn from or grow from. We grow in challenges, you know. You develop character, you develop all sorts of skills through your challenges. And that is how I embraced this whole autism journey. I've grown, I've become more patient, I've become more creative, you know, more open to understanding others through my entire experience. So sometimes if the parent themselves don't have that own personal understanding, as you said, to be able to receive assistance, it might just seem as if it's not going to come to them because they themselves don't know how to receive it.
Earlier on in the interview, you spoke about an individual or a specialist that will be coming to speak to individuals about traveling on the spectrum. Can you tell us a bit about that for individuals who may be interested in being a part of this seminar?
Sure, we have a very experienced traveler, a former foreign officer. She has always been planning trips for her family and her autistic nephew. So she will be there sharing her traveling experiences and a lot of personal experiences, her story, right, and giving tips and so on. We also have personnel from the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. They'll be coming to also share that side of the whole travel experience just through the airport. We didn't get anyone from other areas. We started off with the airport first. We probably need to have a sequel. But we're having persons from the Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago coming to share what they are doing on their side in terms of training personnel and so on. Because I remember our last trip we were taking together through Piaco International, and I saw how the security guard dealt with him because they end up pulling Aiden out of the line to do a search. And I said, I want to see how they respond to him. And I look at how the security guard dealt with her through the Airport Authority there in Trinidad. And she's like, yeah, I recognize the autistic. We had training and so on, so the Airport Authority is always doing, their little training sessions and so on. So we're hoping that as they will come and share, and they will continue to, retool and sharpen their personnel to deal with persons with special needs.
I smiled when I heard of that experience, because I know sometimes we can be pretty hostile in lack of understanding often, in the challenges people face. But I'm really happy to hear that. Kudos to the Airports Authority. I was thinking of travel on smaller scales, maxi taxis,
yes,
buses.
Yes, so even buses. I think, it's all about giving them experiences, because if you as a parent, or again, and this is outside a child with a special disability or need, right? And I used to, but I had a car, so I say, I want to give my children a bus experience. So I'll take my car, pack it up in town, buy bus tickets. We take a bus to go the airport, come back. Take a bus to Plymouth, come back. So it was like a whole part of the experience, giving them the experience, because it's like therapy. If you don't consistently take your child to speech therapy, if you don't consistently apply the homework given to you by your speech therapist, the progress might be slow. They might have regression and so on. So we like to travel in this family, right? I believe in giving Aiden experiences and giving even our entire family experiences. So I make it a duty of mine to make sure I give my child experiences. So sometimes he doesn't like to think that, okay, we don't know where we're going. So even if you're just driving in town to do something, he has to know the routine. He has to know where we're going. So even in that, make sure you use the bathroom before you go. Everybody here know you go in the car, you use the bathroom before you go. You have to do certain things before you go. And all that is teaching them skills. So it is information that could be used on small scale, large scale. But sometimes people, if you don't practice the small scale stuff, the higher scale, the bigger stuff might be a little more challenging. So yes, you can start off with small trips, road trips, car trips, staycations right here in Tobago. We did staycations right here. Just giving him the experience, giving our entire family the experience of traveling.
Ms. Perry, I want to thank you so much for coming on this morning and raising awareness in light of Autism Awareness Month, traveling on the spectrum in particular, because there are things you mentioned this morning that I wasn't fully aware of. So I want to thank you so much, and I'm sure you enlightened the viewers who are looking on as well. We want to wish you all the best in the work that you're continuing to do at Autism Tobago.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
A pleasure.
So our viewers, stay tuned. We continue the conversations this morning. But remember, before we continue, to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Baby, when you whine on me. Somebody get the phone, go to telephone. I get wet. I get wet. I get wet. I'm looking all through the party. I hope I find you there.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Benin. Coming up, Jamaica, here we come. These women of vision are on a mission. Ride the waves and savor the flavor, otherwise known as spending quality time in Antigua and Barbuda. Fun times, plus the food that sets St. Kitts and Nevis apart, all available under one roof. Cue the entertainment and the food. It's Chinese Spring Festival time. It's all next on this station.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. As promised this morning, we're sweetening things up just a bit. We're talking with Brendan Brathwaite, Managing Director of Buzz Concepts Limited, and we're talking Honey Fest. Good morning, Brendan, and welcome.
Morning. Thank you for having me. How are you guys going?
We're doing well. Thank you for asking. First up, what is Honey Fest?
Oh, thanks for asking. We are hosting, so I'm a member of Buzz Concepts, a team of event planners. We've done events in Tobago as well. Actually, we did the Tobago, we tend to do the sports day for the THA, and so that's where we get to interact with a lot of people from Tobago. We have been producing events for the past 20 years, and on the 20th of May is International Bee Day and also our birthday. And as we commemorate this momentous occasion, we are planning a festival that brings on a level of sweetness that Trinidad and Tobago has never seen. And so forth, we are bringing Honey Fest, a celebration of honey producers, commerce, education, and true sustainability on a level that has never been done before.
Now, why honey? Why build an entire festival around honey and bees?
Well, let's be fair. If you understand the importance and significance of bees as the most important, they say the most important living insect, that's one, but entity, you could consider that bees actually help us live. As a major pollinator, it keeps our agricultural system alive. They are critical to the success of us being able to feed ourselves. And so therefore, when you consider sustainability, we should actually be honoring bees. Most of the times people will take out a spray can and spray them out of their houses, when in essence, they're actually not realizing that they could be killing themselves and affecting our future. So that advocacy and awareness for bee conservation, as well as enjoying some honey, is important overall, and that's what we're trying to do.
Tell us some more about your work or your efforts in terms of education. I'll tell you this, I know a few people, a couple of them pretty good friends of mine who are beekeepers, and I always tell them whatever the price you ask for, I'll pay for honey because Alex not mining bee. Explain to us your involvement in terms of encouraging and educating people in beekeeping and getting involved to the extent where we can have a honey fest.
Well, that's a real good question, and I'll tell you. First off, I am not a I'm not a honey provider. I never rear no bees. In fact, I'm allergic to bees. The thing is, we have a company that has been doing great events, and understanding festivals is what we are known for. Understanding, bringing people together, creating an environment that allows for education as well as entertainment. So what we are doing is we are teaming up with ICA. That's an international organization that deals with agriculture in this hemisphere. And they are guiding us with regards to the educational standpoint on bees. Now they'll be working with the local association, farmers, as well as officials who will come and speak on that educational standpoint. Note, we have a classroom session that will be running for the entire day with, let's say, 20-minute intervals with video production, conversations, as well as education on farming, on sustainability, as well as the importance of just being a good farmer and rearing honey. So that communication, that will come through that forum.
Now, you've structured the festival around 3 main pillars. You already spoke about education a bit for us, but there's the commerce and the family fun. Walk us through how each of these will come to life on the day.
Well, thanks for asking. Take note, I went to a few festivals over the last, let's say, 2 months, of course, paying attention to the details. And in doing so, I realized that there's need for a lot of space. There's need for kids' entertainment, and there's need for a constant entertainment and stage presence. So we are going to, on the entertainment standpoint, we have a whole cast of entertainment for the day, from poetry to comedy to steel pan to even games and activities similar to what we would do when we do our family days. We are going to put that into a whole capsule and package it so that from 11 o'clock till 7, and we're also closing off with a ceremonial close. And we want to keep that as a surprise because we want people to stay till the end. And because we are doing, that's the entertainment standpoint, and because we have engaging MCs who will be interviewing all of the people in the commerce section. Now, up to date, we have over 45 people who have already registered to be part of the festival. Now, that's not limited to the educational people, the educational institutions. We are also inviting embassies, embassy from France, China, as well as Argentina, because they are #1 producers of honey in the world. So we are using our whole relationship to bring this to life. Now, before I continue, I want to talk about the sustainability element, because that's a major part. We have been trying to figure out how we can make the event even more sustainable. So last week I had a conversation with a plastic recycling company. And we are now considering, well, it's not finalized as yet, but I'm excited to talk about it still. We are going to try and make Honeyfest a recycling hub. So at the event, we are going to encourage people to bring their recycled material at the event so that we can now collect this plastic and use it in recycling to create furniture for another use. So along those lines, as well as we're going to have use of waste, food waste, we're going to keep that as well and use it for a different purpose. So the event has a broad base with regards to what it will do. Not only about honey and advocacy, but again, you will get your honey snow cones. You will get your infused honey mustard dips, and pepper jelly and all these things. Your doubles vendor will have a honey infused sauce. All of those things will happen. And so that's what the attraction, I think, will be towards the event.
Yeah, you just answered my next question, because I know we can't have a honey fest without discussing food. We've looked at a change in the society where we become quite a lot more health conscious, and we're starting to look at managing diabetes and that kind of thing, and we've looked at the use of honey instead of other artificial stuff or even highly processed sweeteners. how many vendors can you tell would be present, and how have we seen the use of honey in terms of food and possibly medicine, and is this going to play a part in terms of what we can expect to see at the festival?
Right. So I think the educational standpoint of producing this event is opening our eyes to how many people are producing and creating honey products. We are talking about people doing soaps, creams, shampoos. So it's not only food. People are actually incorporating into ice. Right? Yeah. People incorporating it into ice cream. People using it into all types of medicinal things. And we are now, when you talk about people say, yeah, well, we bring in candles. And it's like, oh, yeah, wax. So a lot of times it's like, no, we're doing this Honey Fest where we initially thought it would be honey and honey products. And now as we dive deeper into it, we are realizing there's a broad scale of products and services that people have been able to provide for this event. And it bringing all these products under one roof is really our aim. When you consider honey producers are more like mom and pop. I suppose some of your friends are like mom and pop businesses. They are individual businesses. But rearing honey and is a hard job. It's not as a walk in the park. It's not like every day you wake up. Again, people are afraid of being stung. But the reality is these animals are here to save us. And so I think celebrating them because of International Bee Day on the 20th of May, I think is a good time the weekend after to celebrate honey producers, the insect as well as the people who support them.
Now, what kind of long-term impact are you hoping that the Honey Fest would have here in Trinidad and Tobago?
That's a real good question. And again, the more and more we delve into this event, I mean, we are more than a month away. We are seeing where having this one collective body to bring everybody under one roof would lend itself to international recognition. I think the event in itself, because of its sustainability elements, would bring to life a new awareness of how we should be producing events. Because we're not just the garbage, for example, that we collect in all the plastics and put it aside to recycle. So it's like we're making the green in the event. We're talking about sustainability. We're having some good entertainment. And I think that what this will do for honey as a product is bring more awareness to it, bring more awareness to bees and taking care of bees. Like if you see a bee in your house, you'll quicker open a window and let it out versus kill it. And I think that in itself would change the mindset of our average people so that they could now become an advocate for honey. I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years. So I want to tell people, yo, save the bees as much as you could.
Thank you so much. Give us details, date, time, place, Honey Fest 2026 as we seek to bring this interview to its end.
Right. So the tickets, you could get them on Island e-ticket. They're inexpensive. It's more like a contribution to enter the gates because we have free giveaways, we have free face painting, we have a lot of different things. We have bouncy castles and that kind of thing. So you could bring your family and be entertained. We are selling one ticket, early B, for $50. You like the early B, right?
Yeah.
$50, and you get to come in with 2 kids. Now after that price, it goes up to $60. So what we're doing is really trying to encourage a lot of people to come. Bring your families, 2 adults, 2 kids, just bring them and come. We have packages on Island e-ticket, that's one. The date is the 23rd of May. And the venue is Department of Creative and Festival Arts in St. Augustine. Of course, if you follow us on honeyfest.tt on Instagram, we will put the location, a venue map, all the logistics as it comes to the event, when we do shuttling and parking and all the other logistics that will be needed. Again, the Risk Management Association with regards to coordinating events. Yes, we will have a bee display at the event, but we won't have live bees, so you'll be safe if you have any allergies. Things along those lines we're going to be putting in place. One of the most exciting things I'm excited about is having jumbies. So we're going to have Moko jumbies, but we're calling them jumbies. You like it? Yes. And so a lot of the decor and that kind of thing is going to be spun off of the act of bringing this to life, making a whole festival. And so the decor would be where social media influencers will more than come and enjoy themselves because we have an impactful decor that they could more than take pictures for and get some real good content. We have our mascot as well that will be there to, of course, endorse and make the event alive. And so this is what we're trying to do.
Thank you so much, Brendan, for sharing with us. We've been talking with Brendan Brathwaite of Buzz Concepts. Remember to follow them on Honeyfest TT on Instagram, and you can get all the additional information you need. Thank you again for sharing with us, and we wish you very successful.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the love. Big up
Most
everybody
welcome.
in Tobago. Big time.
Viewers, we take a short break now. When we come back, we talk with Janine Crouch, and we're talking an art exhibition. Stay with us as we go to a break. We'll be right back. Remember, during the break, share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Hair goals, we've got 'em. At S&R Hair Fantasy, we provide a wide variety of quality hair, the latest hair accessories, adult toys, skin lightening products, female underwear, and much more under one roof. Check us out on Shelbourne Street in Plymouth or call us at 317-0808. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. S&R Hair Fantasy for queens who know exactly what they want.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979438.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. It's who we are and the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. We're deepening our commitment to the region, continuing to invest in the networks, services, and digital solutions that move Caribbean businesses forward. Whether you are a mid-sized business or multinational player, we bring you resilient connectivity, personalized service, and tailored IT solutions, all powered by local teams that truly have your back. We're here to help you navigate challenges, grow, and achieve your goals with practical solutions, reliable networks, and a partnership rooted in trust and your long-term success. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back. We're shifting the interview to a bit of a creativity here this morning. Here in studio with us, we have Mrs. Crouch, and we're talking about the pop-up art showcase. Good morning and welcome to you.
Morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, the exhibition is titled Eclectic.
That's right.
Which speaks to diversity in ideas and styles. What does that word mean to you as an artist within this showcase?
Within this showcase, as I am also the curator, what it meant is that I tried to get a variety of different materials, artistic styles, and subject matters, right?
Awesome.
To try to bring them all together for you.
Now, this showcase highlights a range of subject matter, as you mentioned. Yes. How important is it to have this kind of diversity and range being showcased?
I think as a people, they always call us a Kalaloo. We are a melting pot of different cultures, different races, part of that due to our history, of course, right? But for us as artists, we all have something to say. We all have a story, and we use our different materials and our different ideas, our different techniques in order to convey these things. So eclectic speaks to who we are as a people, yeah?
A people, eclectic. As a people, we have not, compared to what we've seen, we've not, I'm tempted to say produced, but that may not be correct, but we've not publicized as many of our artists as maybe we have produced over time. So there's the appearance as though in our mix we have not produced many artists. But is that a correct perception?
Absolutely not. We are chock full of artists and prospective artists in our young people. At Scarborough Secondary School, we have wonderful young artists. We just recently worked together to create this beautiful artwork on the port, right? And sure you saw that, right?
Yeah.
We young people have talent, and being mentored by older artists is a wonderful way to sustain the legacy of art and art culture in our country. Yeah.
How does having an exhibition help to expose lesser known artists? Because this sometimes can lead to the overwhelming of those who are better exposed and better known.
Yes.
How does an exhibition of this nature help to expose younger or less known artists? And who might some of them be if we have any at this exhibition?
Okay. So this exhibition covers the artwork of 6 artists. We have myself, we have Miss Arcana, known as Denicia Kwashi. We have Chris Thomas, we have Avi Bacchus Hopkins, we have Joseph Bacchus, and we have Stephanie Pyle. Now, these are artists that have been working for some time within Tobago, right? And have also taught. We have retired teachers from Speyside and Mason Hall. And we have Stephanie Pyle, a master stained glass crafts lady from Lekuto, right, who deals with a lot of young children, workshops, painting, workshops as well. So we try to expose young people generally to the art, right? So in a space like this one, where it is open to the public, you will get a lot of exposure for the artists as well as for young people who are looking to see, can I do something like this? Can I talk to an artist, right? In secondary school in CSEC, we do a reflective journal. You have to interview an artist. Here are artists right here waiting for you to be interviewed in the mall, right? You have information about them, you have their contact details, and you have their work.
So
right?
Teachers, we hope you're paying attention. You have a ready catchment of artists that can help your charges, your art students, in terms of filling that part of their requirement.
That's right.
How I can see for myself, I usually tell people I went to Scarborough City.
Lovely.
And the teachers did their best with me. Art was not my thing.
They did a wonderful job. Look at where you are.
Art was definitely art and craft. I remember crying tears when I was being taught to plant grass and things like that. And then the other things.
Weaving, yes,
See, the fancy would
lovely.
weep.
No,
All
no,
you know that I didn't make it. But it was really a struggle. But I've come over the years to appreciate the value of the concepts, so that sometimes I can look at a piece and remember some of the stuff I was taught. I remember hearing the words in the classroom.
Yes.
How do you invite people like me who struggled to come to an appreciation for the finished product, or probably rather for the process? Because sometimes it's easy to see the finished product, but when you struggled like I did and probably traumatized by the struggle,
Oh no!
how do you?
I hope not. I hope not.
How do you get people who have had probably challenging experiences, interested in the journey or the process of craft production to the point where you can have an exhibition?
Okay. Well, what I would like to say first of all is that every single human being has this creative instinct inside of them. And while you may have, as you say, struggled in an art form, maybe you just didn't find the art form for you.
Okay.
And your art form may be something different. It might be gardening, it might be cooking, it might be something really, really expressive. You might be taking care of your home, looking like Architectural Digest or something like that. That's your forte. That's your creative instinct.
Okay, teachers, I don't hold it against you. We just didn't have my thing at that time, right?
Right? But what you have to think about too is in terms of process and how we could get people involved. Everything is online now, eh? Everything has become social media and Snapchat and TikTok and all of this kind of thing, right? A lot of younger artists now who are exploding on the scene don't have all the street cred and the 30 years experience and that, but they have the TikTok. And they're showing you exactly what they do and how they do it. And the dedication and passion that they put into this, it enthralls people and it inspires people, right? And that's how young people can gravitate towards finding their niche and in their creative outlet, right? That will make them, and don't forget, art is a conscious building exercise, a community building exercise. So this is going to nurture your inner soul and bring forward your true person. Yes.
And probably the best version.
Very good, very good.
Now, Mrs. Crouch, you mentioned the niche and you spoke about the work and the hard work that goes into an art form. And a lot of times, as Alex mentioned, persons aren't aware or conscious of the effort and the work that goes into that finished product.
Yes.
Now, do you think the collaboration that you would be putting together in terms of the local artists and yourself, in terms of curating the entire art exhibition, do you think this is the future of our creative industry here in Tobago to ensure that our young people continue to express themselves in a way that is authentic to them and also to the Tobago identity?
Of course. I think it is super important. I think also I would like to say that, when you have this kind of sponsorship, this corporate presence that allows for a display of art in the public space like this, you are really bringing it home to the people that art is about a community, right? A community expression of self. And you're encouraging young people to do so and put themselves out there on a scale for everybody to see and to enjoy. Right? When you think of the mall, you think of a place you're going to shop and you're going to eat, you're going to walk around, you're going to enjoy, but you're also going to enjoy art. You're going to enjoy the community process that is art. Yeah?
Awesome. Now, Mrs. Crouch, as we wrap up the interview, I want you to share with the viewers the date, the time. We already know the where, but for persons who are interested in attending and celebrating the pieces that will be on display.
Sure. Okay, well, I am known as Lethe, also Janine Crouch, and I would like to invite everybody to Eclectic, the pop-up art showcase. It is at Lowlands Mall, the place to see art this time. And hopefully for many more times, right? And the show will be open every day that the mall is open from 10 a.m. I believe until 6 p.m. Right? You come in, it's right there, it's on the wall. You have information about each artist next to their work. You have contact details. You have a picture of them. Some of them are a little shy, so they didn't put their picture. But you have others, right? And you can make an arrangement to speak to them, interview them, look at the work, anything you want. We also do lessons. So each one of the artists could be contacted. If you want private lessons in that art form, just let us know. That's what we're here for, right? Pushing art legacy and art culture and consciousness forward for the young people.
Now, Mrs. Crouch, I want to thank you so much for coming on this
Thank
morning.
you for having me.
And promoting the eclectic pop-up series that will be held at Lowlands.
Thank
and we're
you.
wishing you all the best going forward. As an educator, that you continue to inspire young minds.
Thank you.
And that your entire collection and the curation of the exhibit would be a success.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right.
So, viewers, thank you for staying tuned here at Tobago Updates on the Tobago Morning Show. The programming isn't finished, but at Tobago Updates Morning Show, we are wrapping up this morning. But we want to remind you to share the live, share the live, share the live. GMT is up next.
Before we go to GMT, we just want to remind viewers that we recently lost Mr. Iman Legal. Those of you who remember Mr. Legal, you remember him as our last living World War II veteran. Unfortunately, he passed at the age of 99 years, 3 weeks shy of his 100th birthday, having been born on April 13th, 1926. We are certainly going to miss having Mr. Legal with us. His funeral takes place on Friday, 17th April at the Shaw Park Cultural Complex at 10 a.m. Tribute service begins at 11. We trust that you, as many of you as are able, can go out and share your support to the family, express your condolences, and truly respect the passing of a life well lived and a life that served us. Thank you again for being with us. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow on the morning show. Stay with us. GMT is up next. Remember, share the live, share the live, share the live.
For basically inclusion, because we have a lot of students who may have a disability, but we still accommodate them because that is who we are. Over the past few months, we were at the library from a Monday and Wednesday at 3:30 to 6, and during those hours we were mentoring the students how to walk, how to sit up straight, how to be able to create their own designs, and that is what they will be portraying today, their own designs. Instead of us creating them for them, they were their own designers tonight.
Experience was good, but it was a bit frustrating at times.
You have to put a lot of effort and you have to be dedicated to actually be where you want to be, and I think it was a good experience. The show is looking good so far, everything is going great, and I really appreciate to be here today.
It's very amazing. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the next time.
say yeah. Try what you not do if you're not the fair. My mind they tell me to disappear, yeah. So come and help me, cause I don't pray, my man, I don't pray, come on man.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
My intent is to have books. We are doing libraries in schools in Tobago. I am focusing on the libraries for the rural schools. Lions for me, Bloody Bay, Parle Trevere. One of the things I noted is that a lot of the access to books, because kids live in rural areas, they cannot travel to Scarborough, to the main Scarborough library. So I intended to take the books to the students. So we constructed libraries, bookcases, and that would be as part of the literacy program.
I think reading can help others because it can give them more knowledge and educate them about other things.
I think reading is good because it increases our vocabulary and help us to read better and think more better. And I think them giving away the books, donating the books to our school is very smart, and I'm proud of them.
And I like reading because it's just fun, and donating to the school is good because I love to read a lot of books.
Which school is not happy to see the children lick their fingers and turn the pages of books, as we used to do when we were young? So it's a plus for me because literacy is on a downtime low in Trinidad and Tobago. And to get your students to actually want to read a book rather than be on a device, it is a great feat. So I feel excited. I am well appreciative of this gesture, and I know that my students and my teachers are as well.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Today we are proud to officially open the Roxville Policy Club Computer, a space that represents growth, opportunity, and our commitment to empowering our community through education and technology.
Today's initiative that is once again being supported by the Digicel Foundation is indeed a record-breaking success. Not everybody can be able to buy a computer, and even though they buy a computer, some of them don't have internet. And there will be a space, a safe space, where they can come and do their homework and to be able to do their SBAs and to be able to ensure that they have a starting chance in life.
At Panjambago, we often speak about Panyard model. A Panyard is not just where music is played, it's where discipline is learned, talent is shaped, teamwork is built, and young people is guided in a safe space and positive environment. This exactly is what Technology and Education Center represent. Just as a Panyard brings young people together around steel pan, this center brings them together around technology to learn, to explore, and to prepare for the future.
I am truly thrilled to be here with you today as we celebrate the opening of another Technology in Education Center, the 4th Thai Center in Tobago. Through this program, we aim to bridge the digital divide by expanding access to technology and the internet in communities that need it most. And with the invaluable partnership of Pan Trinbago, we have been able to go a step further, embedding technology within Panyards.
Just to say to the young people and all the persons who will be accessing this facility, you need to show ownership of it. You need to take care of it. And I suppose that in the not too distant future, knowing Mr. Hazel and the Police Youth Club, they're going to expand on it when they look at how many persons are accessing it.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Anika Joseph, coming from Canada. It's been a great event. This is our 4th time at Mount Pleasant. Lots of things to do with the children, lots of amazing goat races and human races throughout the day. It's been fantastic.
I think it's very interesting being a
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Update. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And ladies and gentlemen, you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting topics and conversations, let's have our news in 90 seconds. An autopsy conducted yesterday by Dr. Herbert Daisley has confirmed that 7-year-old Angelica Joey died from multiple traumatic injuries. The findings bring a somber clarity to the case as the police investigations continue. While the jet ski operator involved in the collision was detained, he remains uncharged at this hour, and the Jogi family continues to seek justice for their daughter's untimely death. And finally, for the first time in Tobago's history, a dedicated Hindu mandir is set to open its doors before the end of the year. Approximately $800,000 has been invested in the facility so far. The temple will provide a permanent space in Signal Hill for the Hindu community to worship and celebrate their heritage, marking a significant step forward for the island's cultural diversity. And that was our news in 90 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we jump straight ahead into the conversation, and I have the privilege of chatting online this morning with Mr. Martin George, who's the chairman of the Tobago Business Chamber. This morning we're talking about whether it is to close or not to close the Marine Park in Tobago. Good morning, Mr. George, and welcome.
Yes, hi, good morning to you, Miss Felix, and good morning to all your viewers on Tobago Updates. Your show is resonating around the world. People follow you all over, wherever I travel, whether it is in the UAE, whether London, whether Jamaica, anywhere, they always ask about your show. So keep up the good work you guys are doing.
Excellent.
All right, so first of all, the Tobago Business Chamber extends its sincere condolences to the family of this young girl. I mean, no one would ever want that, for anybody, So, I mean, we do extend our condolences. However, we have seen some of the immediate reactions with calls for, a total ban on jet skis, and a total ban on, the boats and stuff like that. And, one is wondering whether there can be some sort of happy medium struck here. Because at the end of the day, you certainly don't ever want anything like this happening again, and the thing is, you look around the world at so many other, tourist destinations, okay? So you think of Cancun in Mexico, you think of Montego Bay in Jamaica, you think of so many places where they do have the water sports, right? You go down Key West, you have jet skis all over, you have boats all over, but the point is there are rules, regulations, guidelines, and most importantly, there is enforcement. And I think that is where we really need to focus. So in other words, you're not saying that you can't have persons who, operate their jet skis, but the point is you need to cordon off an area, even if it is that you use a large physical barricade, such as putting groins in the water. So you have a line of groins, so you barricade an area, so therefore there's no way the jet ski can come over those big, huge, groins, which would be, either concrete or stone, that you'd put in the water. So the reality is that, we have to think carefully in terms of how we manage it, because at the end of the day, part of the tourism product that you are selling is not just the seawater and sand and sea bathing, but it would include water sports, because you have so many water sports enthusiasts, because, you have things like kite surfing, you have parasailing. Parasailing involves the use of a boat, so, I mean, to just take a knee-jerk reaction and say, well, look, ban everything, it just doesn't seem to be the most practical way forward, and this in no way diminishes the sorrow one feels at what has occurred. And of course, definitely the family is entitled to seek compensation for this, because, I mean, this is a tragedy, But what I'm saying is that the THA, in managing this going forward, I mean, if they have regard to the judgment of Justice Judith Jones, which was delivered in 2010, I mean, I'm telling you how long ago this was, right? This was in the case of Yannick Kennel, right, and his girlfriend, who were injured at the Pigeon Point Park there while they were bathing in the water. They were injured. This time it was by a boat. It wasn't a jet ski, it was a boat. Somebody was operating a boat close in the water, and, they got damaged by the propellers, and both of them ended up paralyzed, and they sued. They sued the THA, they sued Pigeon Point Heritage Park, and they sued the state of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And, the thing is, Justice Judith Jones said that, and I mean, I'm reading here from the judgment at page 77, right? And this is since 2010. So we are 16 years later, right? She says, I am of the view, therefore, that by operating the park for the purpose of exploiting the natural resources of Pigeon Point, including the beach and adjacent water, for both domestic and local tourism, the THA and the company, and she's referring to Pigeon Point Heritage Park Limited, exercise sufficient control over the use of these natural resources by visitors to the park to impose on them a duty of care with respect to visitors to the park. So, in other words, that duty is on the THA and the Pigeon Point Heritage Park. So, therefore, what she's saying is that, look, they are the ones who have to do what is necessary to prevent this risk of danger. So in other words, where you have to put, things in place to ensure that you have a barrier, a permanent barrier, to prevent watercraft from coming in, right? She goes on at paragraph 79 to say, the danger presented to persons using the adjacent water for the purpose of sea bathing was a danger known to both the THA and the Pigeon Point Heritage Park Limited. The failure by the THA to take steps to prevent boats and other watercraft from coming so close to the shore as to pose a risk of damage to sea bathers, and the failure of both the THA and the Pigeon Point Heritage Park to erect warning signs on the beach and or in the park in close proximity to the beach is, in my opinion, a breach of the duty of care owed to the claimants as visitors of the park. So in other words, the THA has that fundamental responsibility. All right. So in other words, either rope it off, you net it off. I've seen in some countries where they use a net, right? So you place a big net in the water. So therefore, there's no way a jet ski or a boat could even think of coming over it because, the net sticks out almost like a volleyball net,
Right.
So like you have it in the water, so that it's a physical barrier. So so in other words, bathers know you can't go across there, you can't cross the net. The craft operators know they can't come in, and therefore you have that safety. You have your markers, you have it lit up, you have it. That's basic. That's not rocket science. And since 2010, in this judgment, Justice Jones indicated what needed to be done. So
right.
you ask yourself...
And Mr. George, even if we look at the park in its current existence, there are actually warning signs present, but there are not sufficient barricades there to bar off the vessels from getting into the shore. We're at a point where persons are emotional and everyone is looking for someone to put the blame on. Some are blaming the Pigeon Point Heritage Park, the THA, and some the jet ski operator. But you have the persons making the argument that a jet ski is a man-made machine that's mechanical and can also sometimes face mechanical issues and sometimes even go out of control. While trying to control it, it can go in the opposite direction depending on the speed at which the jet ski is traveling at. And sometimes these incidents can be caused outside of the person riding the jet ski's control. And so even, within your legal framework as an attorney at law, there are many arguments that can be made on many sides. And so the key argument here is that the policy needs to be implemented to the point where there is no way that that incidents like this can occur. So outside of it just being written on a sign when you get into Pigeon Point, there has to be that physical enforcement, as you suggested.
Of course. Well, and not just that, a physical barrier. And I'm suggesting that we look into the idea of using the net, not just the rope, because, sometimes you could use the jet ski and hop a rope. So I'm not even saying a rope. I'm saying use a net, something sticking out like a volleyball net, running right across, barricading the area, making sure it's safe and making sure that it, prevents any motorized craft or any watercraft from coming into that area, and therefore you create a safe space for bathers, because you don't want persons feeling, well, hey, listen, there's a risk that, look, if I go and, take a swim at Pigeon Point, this could happen to me or my family. People don't want to know that, and it's just a question of enforcing the regulations, putting the mechanisms in place, and therefore you're able to ensure that both, sides of the divide are able to use the park, use the area, use the facilities without coming into contact with each other, in a manner such as this.
Right, and we have a situation where we currently have a suspect in police custody as it pertains to this case. But as I mentioned before, with the possibility of a mechanical failure and a jet ski possibly, on its own accord, a jet ski operator can lose control and the jet ski can keep going even beyond what being able to stop. So even though persons are emotional and calling for that person to go to jail or be lost in prison, where do we meet a middle ground? You know, because these are two families being affected. The family of the Jogi family that has been affected by the loss of this young girl, 7-year-old girl, and the family of the person that was driving the jet ski at the time. How do we strike that balance?
Well, the thing is, I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves at this point because, I mean, no one has been charged yet. We don't know if any charge will be laid or what the charge would be. I mean, while we may have our suspicions or, whatever we may wish for, we have to still await the process. So I would say let's await and see. And then, of course, depending on what this person or his attorney may have to say, then we will know for sure what exactly their position is. So I don't want to delve into the realm of speculation at all,
Right.
particularly when we haven't reached that point yet. I don't think it would be proper at all for us to, get into that. But of course, yes, in every scenario, there sometimes may be another side to the story, and we have to understand that. And, the thing is, we have become a society where it's the first thing is we jump to conclusions, we jump to there's always the baying and the calling for blood, and I mean, yes, of course you want to see justice done, but we also have to respect the process and the judicial process. So let's allow it to play out, and then we'll see where the chips fall at the end of the day.
Understood. But moving forward, you are someone who you are well traveled and you have visited a number of countries all over the world, and you've seen effective operations of water sports and just tourism on a whole. And so for you, what type of policies have, you spoke about the barricade and stuff like that, but in terms of how the operators conduct themselves, how the public is expected to conduct themselves, what are some of the patterns that you've seen that you think can be implemented here?
Okay, all right. So let me tell you, and I'll share some good information with you. All right. First of all, you need registration, regularization, and regulations. So, in other words, even for jet ski operators, what the THA has to do, it has to roll out a policy and a practice whereby jet ski operators must be registered. So, in other words, you cannot be operating a jet ski, even for private use, without you being registered, without that jet ski being registered, if you understand me. All right. So you have to start with something like that. For boats and small craft, of course, yes, they also have to be registered. Then now you have to have your regulations. Okay. If you are operating these craft in the waters around Tobago, because the THA has the responsibility for that by way of the THA Act, all right, then they can put the policy in place and say, look, you cannot come within maybe 20 meters of the shoreline or, whatever. And then now you also enforce that by putting up the physical barricade. All right. So in other words, so you have several layers of protection. Right? You put up the physical barricade so that you ensure that, look, even if somebody is either, negligent, or as you say, maybe if it is that a craft goes out of control, there's the physical barricade that would stop them. So the thing is, you do things like that, and you ensure that in all your areas of operation that you have that type of rigorous enforcement. And I'll tell you why this matters. Say, for instance, okay, like I've been on several cruises all around the world, and the thing is, I even did a cruise which had a stop in Tobago. And I really wanted to see the experience, the difference, and first of all, it was so embarrassing in terms of what the brochure on the cruise ship had for all the other islands. I'm talking Antigua, Barbados, St. Vincent, what all the other islands where the cruise ship was stopping. Right, they had a full, 3-4 pages of activities to do, etc. And you know why? Because all the activities were by registered operators, because that's one thing. The cruise ships do not deal with unregistered operators. So therefore, these other islands understand that already. So in other words, you have to be registered. In some cases, if it is that you're doing tours, you must have insurance. Right? You have to be licensed and insured, that kind of thing. So therefore, the cruise ships then will now promote those tour operators and those tours where they know there's some degree of proper registration, regulation, and, where there's enforcement of those regulations. For Tobago, there were 4 lines, and one of which was Pigeon Point. They mentioned Pigeon Point. They mentioned the fort, going up to the fort. They mentioned the rainforest, and they mentioned, I think, going to Storby. That was all they had. So the point is, we need to understand, if we are going to be serious about tourism and our tourism product, it is not just a question of, anybody, you pull on a swim trunks in the morning and you go out with your jet ski and you're up and down touting, recklessly in the waters, and you're hustling for $1, as we like to see. We need to have it in a regularized, registered manner. Even for the reef boat operators, we need to ensure that that is properly regulated, because the thing is, the way it has become a hustle, and a scramble, as you drive down into the area there by Storby, or even as you're driving into Pigeon Point, everybody's rushing you, to tout, a reef tour. We need to have these things properly organized, properly registered, because the point is, sometimes the members of the public don't know who they're going with. Is it a properly organized boat? Do they have proper safety mechanisms? Are they insured? Are they properly registered? So we have to understand that, listen, we are in a global marketplace for tourism. It's not just Trinidad and Tobago, right? We have to understand. And, something that I keep telling Tobagonians, and I don't know if the message is getting through. We seem to think we have a monopoly on seawater and sand, and, that, we have the best beaches in the world. Trust me, we are fooling ourselves. There are so many other places that have fantastic beaches. So don't feel that, you will just sit down with seawater and sand and, you feel that, well, that alone is enough. You go to so many other places. I mean, listen, you go to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates and you will see beaches that will blow your mind. Out there in the desert, you will see these beaches that you will be like, wow. You go to places like Thailand, you go to Philippines, I mean, I've been to all these places and I can tell you, so it's not something I read on the internet or, saw in a movie. I have been there. I have been in the
Understood.
So
and when we talk about the regulations aspect of it, but regulations is one aspect, compliance is another aspect. And sometimes we cannot depend solely on personal ethics or morality to comply, but we give incentives to comply. And the type of incentives are that, just as you stated, when the cruise ships coming, they are the top recommended. When you go to Storby, there are areas where these are all recommended or certified tours or tour operators. These are who we recommend. And there are signs that say, when going on a tour, these are the things that you should check for. Ensure that you are using a certified service provider. Ensure that the service provider has insurance. That a safety briefing is being done. Are persons even given safety briefings when they get on a jet ski, or are they just told to put on a life jacket and hold on tight? These are the things that the THA has to understand. What are the exact
and it has to be the THA to take the lead. Correct. The THA has to be the one to take the lead. Look, I was in Ocho Rios last week in Jamaica, and at this at Bamboo Blue Beach Club, right in Ocho Rios, what they did, and I found it was so interesting. They used a net, right, the same net that I spoke about, like a volleyball net, And the net not only kept the watercraft away from the nicely cordoned off beach area. I mean, and when I tell you crystal clear water, perfect white sand, I mean, like, oh my God, So that's why I'm telling you, let's not kid ourselves to think that we are the only ones with that product. But what they did, they used that net, and that net also trapped and kept away the seaweed. Right? So they had actually a series of nets out in the water, and I looked at that and I said, wow, that is so good, because the point is we have suffered so much in Tobago with, the influx of the seaweed coming onto the shores, spoiling the beaches and preventing people from being able to access and use the facilities properly. And, they just use a simple net, just like the volleyball net, stretched across the water, and that trapped the seaweed. And then you saw them coming now with some boats, picking up the seaweed and carting it away. And I said, wow, so therefore the net serves a dual purpose. Not only it keeps the boats and watercraft out, it keeps the seaweed out also. So we listen, there's no need to go and reinvent the wheel. The products are out there, the examples are out there all over the world. We just need to follow the pattern and implement them, and, as you say, enforce them, because enforcement is essential. So therefore, we need to maybe have a marine patrol unit created by the THA, whereby you have, officers who are designated who will be doing routine patrols, both day and night, because we need to also protect our coastline from, unwanted and illegal substances coming in, under the cover of night, so therefore they will also be patrolling areas around no man's land, so therefore you don't have like the overloading or overcrowding of boats and the sinking of boats, which we have seen in the past. I mean, come on. Why are we not doing these basic, simple things, which, it doesn't require, you don't even need half a brain to figure it out. All you need to do is to just go and look and see what other countries are doing.
Right.
I'm
glad that you mentioned that. Oftentimes when we have organizations or persons within the THA who are charged with setting policy or implementing policy, and we see them traveling, persons are asking questions. Why do they have to travel so much? What is this bringing back to the Tobago economy? But in situations like this, do you see how it can be quite beneficial for possibly the chairman of the Pigeon Point board or some of its members to go and look at some of those beaches, look at how some of those countries have structured their offerings, make those partnerships, find the suppliers, see how these things are being engineered, and bring some of those things back to the island?
Well, the thing is, I mean, I think there's no doubt or no denying that our officials travel extensively. They attend all the trade shows, all the tourism shows, all the world tourism fairs, etc. The point is, what are they actually learning or benefiting from those, conferences and, things that they are attending? Is it that they are actually there, trying to learn and trying to understand and develop, or is it that they just use it as an opportunity for a joyride or a free holiday, and the minute they get a chance, they're off shopping in Walmart or Kmart or going for McDonald's, or if you understand me, we have to be realistic. Is it that we are getting value for these travels that we see our officials doing all over the world? What do they bring back to the table? I'll tell you something. When I was chairman of Crime Stoppers, right, and we used to have conferences all over the world. We had conferences in Singapore, we had conferences, and we actually had one planned for Dubai, and we had in Australia, we had Jamaica, we had Cayman Islands, Bermuda, all over, right? I would always insist, I said, listen, hey, all right, okay, the organization might be assisting you in terms of paying for this trip, but you need to bring back something. And I insisted each of my directors had a portfolio. They had to prepare a report, submit it when we got back. So in other words, you're able to show tangible benefit you are bringing back from this. So it wasn't just a joy, it wasn't just a freebie or a free go. You have to show, well, hey, listen, the organization paid for me to go, and this is the value I am bringing back. But we don't seem to have that type of accountability within THA. Officials seem to be, they seem to spend half their time, scanning to see what is the next trip I could, what is the next event or the next, conference, Then the point is, okay, yes, so the THA pays for it with taxpayers' money, with the public money, and you ask yourself, when you come back, do you ever hear any report? Does any public official come on the television or the radio and say, well, look, I just returned from, this trip where I went to represent the interests of Tobago, and this is my finding, this is my report, this is what I'm bringing back to show. We don't get it at all. You see them come back with new clothes, new shoes, new handbags, and you wonder, well, okay, that's the benefit.
Yeah. Even as we move forward and we wrap up our conversation this morning, what would you say should be the guiding principles moving forward? What should be the next step for the Pigeon Point Board or even the Tobago House of Assembly?
Well, I always like to look at things holistically. And what I want to encourage Tobagoans to do and to start looking at or thinking of is we need to understand that we are in an internationally competitive tourism market. Okay. We are not just competing in the Caribbean, and even in the Caribbean, it's difficult enough because we compete against Cuba, right? Millions of tourist visitors every year to Cuba. How hard you hear conditions are in Cuba, Cuba has the largest number of tourist arrivals in the Caribbean regularly, right? You're competing against Puerto Rico, right? You're competing against Dominican Republic, beautiful beaches all down in Punta Cana. I've stayed at hotels in Punta Cana where, they are so massive. You could drop the whole of the Trinidad Hilton on the front lawn of one of the hotels, just on the lawn. All of Trinidad Hilton could fit on the lawn alone. To tell you, the only you could get around the hotel by golf carts. It is so massive. So we need to understand the market we are actually in and what we're competing against, and start thinking international in terms of standards, our regulations, our enforcement, and planning. It's difficult to make that change because, sometimes we have a kind of backlash. If we like to say, we're doing things our own way, we're not done with all of that tape. No, let me tell you, there's a reason, a purpose for those things, because it brings structure, it brings order, it brings certainty, it brings clarity, and that is what will keep your repeat tourist visitors to the island.
Understood. Well, Mr. Giorgio, and thank you so much for being here this morning and sharing your perspectives, your experience, and your recommendations moving forward for Tobago to continue to have or create a thriving tourism sector. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back with much more after this. See you soon.
Trinidad, Tobago, and abroad, your chance to drive away in a brand new SUV is still on. The BHS Centennial Raffle has been extended to Thursday, 30th April 2026. And that's not all. Prizes include travel for two to Miami and Curacao, Tobago staycation, iPhones, computers, smart TVs, and more. Tickets still only $100. Get yours at selected outlets or at islandetickets.com. Details at bishopstobago100.com/raffle.
Quartz is well known as the Caribbean's largest retailer, providing consumers for generations with the very best products to enhance their homes. This year, we bring our expertise to businesses. Quartz Business Solutions will serve small, medium, and large companies with the very best products at the most competitive prices, backed by warranties and after-sales support. Hoteliers, office managers, restaurants, and so many more. Quartz Business Solutions, a brand of the Unicomer Group.
Office looking professional.
Hello.
Hey, bandit.
Is this Charles & Charles Inc.? I'm your new receptionist.
Oh yes, welcome, welcome. This is Charles and Charles.
So you're Charles?
And Charles.
Okay then. Well, I see you're ready for business.
Oh yes, yes. I have my favorite photo, my desk, and a spot for George.
George?
On the doubles, man. Have my marriage certificate, my cow certificate, my divorce certificate.
Tax certificate?
Taxi? No, I used to pull bull.
No. Tax certificate.
Tax? Yes, I had one of that in the last office, you know, but I lost it. No, wait, I had one in my mother's house, but I think the cow eats it.
Look, Mr. Charles.
And Charles?
Do you pay your taxes? It is critical to your business. You should call Anderson in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, they provide tax and accounting services, and their corporate secretarial services. The best.
Really? How you know?
Well, my last boss lost his whole business, and I lost my work.
Oh.
You know, there's a tax amnesty going on now.
Really? So I can pay all my back taxes?
And don't forget to call Anderson so you could save your business and I could keep my work. Oh God, no. This picture has got to go.
The Caribbean is more than just a place. It's a spirit, resilient, vibrant, and full of possibility. Rooted in connection, driven by community. It's who we are at the heart of everything we do. For over 150 years, we've been right here, invested in the Caribbean, its people, and its progress. And today, we're going even further. Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
Who said the elderly can't have fun too? We're talking good food, proper music, lots of games, and a day at the beach they will never forget. From the time we left the compound at Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, the vibe was already established. Wheels up and seatbelts on. Watch now, when we touched down in Pigeon Point, everybody was ready for excitement. But before anything could take place, we had to secure bellies. You ever play bingo by the beachside? Well, that was the first activity on the roster, and boy did these seniors have fun. However, others wanted something more physical, so we brought out the ring toss, and not even arthritis could have stopped them. Well, I was blown away at how straight these people were. Are you sure this is a home for the elderly? Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, but nothing beats the song of Good Steel Pan by the shores while we take a dip in Tobago's finest water. Wait, more food again? This is my type of event. The energy was amazing and nothing short of a blessing. Pick up Heavenly Care Home for the Elderly, because joy doesn't retire, laughter doesn't age, and memories like these last forever.
To a stranger.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. This morning we continue our conversations about what's happening in the Marine Park in Tobago. Obviously, we're continuing the discussion after the tragic incident that took place last week where a 7-year-old girl, Jogi, was killed from a collision accident at the Pigeon Point Beach from a jet ski. Now, this morning we're chatting with Mr. Michael Frank, who is from Frankie Tours, the CEO of Frankie Tours, very popular tour operator within the Marine Park District. And this morning we are talking about the next steps forward. Where do we go from here? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you and good morning to the wider listening audience. Well, where we're going to go from here, we have to start putting things in place. We have been lagging behind for so long about putting things in place to make the country a better place. And the only way forward is to put things in place on all different sectors.
Right.
From education to legislation to security, all the angles has to be covered. We have to put things in place to make Tobago a better place.
Right. And, you know, in my conversations earlier, as you would have seen with Attorney Martin George, we were talking about what the next steps could look like as well, you know, as it pertains to regularization, regulation, and enforcement. And he spoke extensively to the fact that all jet ski operators, and that's his point I agree with totally, should be registered and licensed like any other vehicle that comes into the country should be licensed, should be registered, whether private or for public use. Tell us about some of your views on that.
The legislation is already in place for all jet ski to be licensed and registered. Enforcement is where the problem comes in. So all these things already have the legislation put in place, or there are policies put in place for all the implementation of these things. The problem is that there are no enforcement. So although the legislation might be there, the policy might be there, nobody's actually following up to say, okay, this has been done.
Right, so can someone bring in a jet ski currently with how the system is? Can someone import a jet ski without it being licensed and put it on this water?
Definitely you can. Just that, as I said, there's no enforcement. You should have to have some type of background check, and you should have all the paperwork done before that happens. But as it is presently, you can just go buy a jet ski and put it in the water.
Right, let's talk to the idea of being globally competitive and coming up to global standards of operations for water sport, being certified. This is something that we see all over the world. You go to participate in sea activities, and you go before you pay, whether you've paid online before you came to book or you're paying at the booth when you get to the activity. You see right there that the certification is on the wall. This is a certified organization. You know, it is compliant with the regulations, which might say that every year they ought to come and go through whatever rigorous process it is to maintain that licensing or certification and approvals. Do you think that this is where we ought to go as a society, or we could see persons pushing back and saying, well, Tobago is too small for that, or we don't need all of that, based on the culture that exists here? Tell us, how do you see it?
Tobago is not immune from the rest of the world. Tobago is part of the rest of the world, unfortunately. Right. We have to compete with every other country in the world. And because we have to compete with other countries, we have to be up to standard with every other country. We are not the best. We are not the worst, but we're not the best. And we have to make ourselves present and upfront in every aspect of it. So we have to become a first world country in tourism if we have to succeed in tourism.
Right. And even as it pertains to what is being done effectively in other parts of the world, do you see us, you know, being able to take some of those ideas, like Attorney Martin George suggested this morning, having those nets that separate bathing areas from where boats and other water sports can operate, having set that mileage where you say, okay, persons cannot come within 20 meters of the shoreline? Do you see those things as being effective ways of implementing policy? And do you think that what exists currently is sufficient, or should it be revised to suit the times that we're in now?
All right, so most of the bathing beaches on Tobago already have some demarcation.
Right.
It might not be a net particularly, but most of them has at least a line with some buoys that blocks off the swimmers from the boats or the jet skis. More can be done. More can be done because it's not on every single beach as yet, but most of the beaches that has lifeguard has this separation already. Yes, it's a great idea. I need to put a net. It might even help with blocking other things besides just jet skis and boat.
Yeah, he spoke to that. He spoke to the fact that it also blocks off the seaweed from coming in during those times of the year. Where,
okay, well, that's great. I wasn't thinking in terms of seaweed, but yeah, that is a good idea. But it also will help blocking off a lot of other things. Look, for instance, when the guy got attacked by the shark a couple of years ago, he had a net, then that would have been protecting that as well.
Right.
And also, it should block off a lot more. And it's a good idea. And well, again, it's up to the state to influence. You cannot go on your own, go and put up a barricade on a beach.
Right.
This is the state responsibility. This lies squarely with the state, putting the infrastructure in place to upgrade the country. You see, Trinidad and Tobago has so much red tape that if you used to go and do something that you might think is a good idea without they knowing, they're going to come take down.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's the reality.
I spoke earlier about the attitudes that reside within our small island culture, whereby some persons feel as though they are immune to the rules or regulations that guide the rest of the world. And just seeing how international or even multinational companies operate as it pertains to feeling safe enough to put their passengers or their clients in the hands of particular businesses or operators when they get to the island, who they recommend, for instance, how the cruise ships would recommend particular tours. Do you think that persons will be willing to comply when these regulations are enforced, and what type of incentives do you think should be put in place to encourage persons to want to comply?
All right. First of all, before they bring any type of legislation or new legislation, they should have a dialogue. They should have, because most of the people who is on top of these boards and all this does not have a clue what takes place on the ground. So they need to first have dialogue, and then they could put these regulations in place, because they have to have the regulations. Everywhere you go in the world, there are regulations. And I mean, we're not a lawless society. We have to have regulation in order to operate. You understand? The thing about it is that sometimes they make legislation that does not fit the ground. So in order for them to have the right fitting, they need to come to the ground and have a conversation. Hear what the public has to say concerning what you want to do, and then they could put it in place. Yeah. I mean, Tobago does not really make laws. They have policies, and some of the policies are great, but they just need some more local input so that they have it in a way that everybody is comfortable. If you put a policy in place that you have half of the society not in play with it, or is against it, then you will have pushback. You don't want to have pushback. You want to have proper dialogue where everything is working smoothly and working together as one unit.
Right. And, you know, the safety aspect of it is one thing, but you have the other aspect of, for years, persons have been complaining about the haggling that takes place. Particularly in the Storm Bay area, it has been curbed a lot in Pigeon Point, I believe. That still remains a problem. How do we fix it? Persons are complaining that it diminishes the quality of the experience. You as a tour operator, yes, it might bring in more customers, but it puts a damper on the quality of the tourist experience. Talk to us about that. We know a lot of work has gone into changing that structure, but yet it still pervades.
Well, as you said, a lot of work has gone into it. We have made headways on many occasions. It always falls back to the same situation because, again, there's nobody enforcing it.
Right.
For instance, we used to have a boot system that worked effectively for a little while. If one person in the unit of operators decide, look, I don't want to work in the booth, and I decide I'm going to jump out and do my own thing on the outside, who is stopping him? Nobody. There's no teeth. And because of that, if he jumps out, and he tells, okay, 5 or 6 guys, I want you to start selling my ticket on the side of the line, who is stopping the next person from jumping out and the next person from jumping out? That's where the enforcement comes in. They have to have some type of regulation or teeth on the ground that says, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to go out there and tout for the business. The business has to come to one centralized area and then passes on. You know, there's many different ways you can do that. We travel a lot. We know how it works on the outside world. You can have multiple booths where all the operator has their own booth. People can go get their tickets there. Right. Or you can have one central booth where all the tickets pass through and then it distributed easily.
Oh, yeah. And then you have the different times. That's the most effective way, as I always say, when you look at what happens throughout the world. Persons may say, well, this is the time where there are the most tourists around. So if a person takes this time, they are more likely to benefit more from, tourists being here. So is it that, how does one split it up? You have different boats traveling at different times and people have the choices to make between the different boats. And there should be those signs or, you know, those little brochures with the different boats that persons can choose from.
Exactly.
So on this boat, this is the experience. This is your experience from this one. And you have a choice to choose from all 3 boats that are leaving at 4.
Nice. Yeah, well, that's a great idea because, as I was going to say that before you jump into the conversation, sometimes you will have the problem where people comes and they want to go on a specific boat. But as you said, if you have a brochure up there or you have the information up there stating what this boat would do from what this boat would not do, then you have people making their choices and paying at the same boat, going on which boat they want to go on. Also, it adds revenue to the state because if they to set up a proper system, the state could then tax it there. Instead of taxing us individually, you could tax it at the source.
Right.
You understand? And then also it also could contribute even further. Some of that same revenue could go back into the infrastructure of the reef and even the whole marine park.
And then if it is staffed properly and it is streamlined, then there's particular persons who are hired to work there at the boat, and tour operators can then focus on the quality of the experience that they're offering. So for instance, you go to the booth, you can scan a QR code and you see the experience being offered from a particular service provider that shows you what you get from start to end. Let's say for instance, you get food on board or you get drinks complimentary depending on which ticket you choose. You might choose a $200 ticket that doesn't have drinks included, or you choose a $300 ticket that is an all-inclusive where you get bites and you get a drink, or you get the experience where you can come off at no man's land based on how much you pay, you know. And so these are the things that include that digitalization aspect of improving the offering. So you have that digital component where persons come and they use the technology. Operators are then forced to improve the quality of what they're offering and include that digital component to it, having those videos, having those pictures, you know, marketing themselves and competing amongst each other, having that open market and free competition.
Yeah, but you see, all that is great. All that is great. We just need to put it in place. You know, we talk a lot about what should be done and what should be done. At the end of the day, nothing is really being done. So we just keep going over in circles, constantly talking about what is needed to improve the tourism. But really and truly, unless you take it on as a personal thing and do it for yourself, nothing is done on the wider community. And that is where we're lagging behind. We need to stop talking and start doing.
And I think as well, too, you have a lot of persons who have excellent ideas for how it can be upgraded, but it stays at the idea and talking about it stage, other than moving it to a place where you compile your idea into a proposal and you submit it to the Division of Tourism, or you submit it to the Pigeon Point Board and say, hey, as someone who is a concerned Tobagonian or interested in seeing a boost in the tourism industry, I would like to work with you or partner to implement this policy. And this is what I think an implementation strategy can look like.
You know, I like the young blood, the new insight that you bring into the business. It's good, it's inspiring. But as I said again before, all this information only stays here. How do you get it from here to there, where it really needed? You understand?
On the board of the Pigeon Point.
Exactly. So, you know, sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. But 90% they don't implement. And that is where the problem lies. So we're constantly going around in circles all the time, saying the same exact thing. Nobody's taking it any further. And we will struggle until that starts happening. Right? So that's how it stands. And that's how it will stand for a long time until changes is come.
Right. Well, we want to thank you so much for being here this morning, you know, having that discussion with us, bringing those perspectives from the position of one of the key stakeholders within the industry. Even as we round up for discussion this morning, is there anything that you want to say to our viewers online?
Well, you know, I will always be saddened by the fact that this young lady has lost her life. So I just want to say condolences to the family. And I really hope that things like this do not ever happen again in the future. And I really hope that the government would finally take a stand to make and improve our tourism product. Because as I constantly saying, we are talking a lot, we're not doing anything about it. Come out, let's talk, let's fix this thing. So it's better for us, our families, and the entire Trinidad and Tobago. Make the product better.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for being here this morning.
Welcome.
And I want to thank my viewers online on this rainy morning in Tobago. I want to thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a great day. Be safe out there.
To a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people